90 minutes.
Wonderful. Let's do it. So, welcome to Friday night video discussion between myself, Maria Kompanowski, and Roger Bertrand, a coach, a YouTuber, and a specialist in cultural differences. Tonight's discussion is going to be quite interesting, and we hope that you're going to enjoy it, because we're going to be discussing the primitive side of humanity. Roger, could you explain to our viewers what do you understand by primitive side of the humanity, please?
Okay, what I can say is this. There is a lot of division in this society. Politically, that's for sure. We know that already. I probably don't need to mention it. We are divided about ideas. We're divided over religion. Whose God is the true God? Okay. And we are divided about should we offer free training during the pandemic? And some will agree and some won't. Because at the end of the day, we still need to pay the bills. Pandemic or no pandemic, bills are coming in.
That's very true.
Okay, so it's interesting. So for me, what I would say, dialogue is to be nurtured. Nurtured. But why do I think that we are still very primitive? But you only have to look around you. There is war in a lot of places in the world. They've attacked a town. I'm not going to name any countries. I want to say neutral on that. So they attack a town, and then 2 days after, a week after, the town is being taken back by the government. And 10 years down the line, after 20,000 people died, they come to an agreement or to ceasefire for a month, or they come to an agreement to, a peace agreement and sign it. To me, that's extremely primitive. Why don't we try to speak in the first place and to have a dialogue in the first place? One, we would have all those people suffering and dead. And two, with the impact of war, even if they are alive, the impact of war on a community or a nation, it's just disastrous. People live in what we call in French bidonville, so slum, okay? People live with no water, no electricity. Just earlier, my stepson Stuart said that he sent one of my videos to his friend in Africa, and they only have, where they live in that particular part of Africa, they only have the government cut the electricity at a certain time in the evening or something, yeah? And they only have access to the internet within probably a very short time during the day. And so they live in primitive, precarious situation. Now, can you imagine the impact of war on a population like that? Or even us, if there was war in the UK, well, maybe there is with the coronavirus, but there is a lot of opinions on that.
Yes.
And the coronavirus, obviously, the UK economy has gone down by just over 20%. That's never been seen before. And but what I'm trying to say here is that we are primitive in a lot of ways, in the way we do things to each other. Yeah, we kill each other before we talk to each other. I mean, even the supreme leaders on some of the countries, they do things and they talk. And they talk after. All they can do all over the world is block this, block that, block the other. They are blocking channel of communication. How's that going to work? How's that going to work? I can understand a caveman wanted to protect himself and his family and his cavewoman wife and his children and all that, against another tribe. But that was 3, 4, 5, 10,000 years ago. Now we are supposed to be more intelligent. We might be, yes, on the technological side of it, because I wouldn't be speaking to you over Zoom now. Yeah, I think Zoom, that's been a wonderful invention. I mean, video conferencing. So that's great, that's fantastic. We're moving forward in that direction. I think where we're living behind, we're not improving on the wisdom side of things. We're not improving with compassion. Yes, some of us have because we joined different movements. I practice Buddhism. Some people join the law of attraction movement too. So there are a lot of similar movements along that. But apart from that, I think we are a minority doing that. Most of the time, people fight because they think their God is the true one. I got nothing against people believing in a God, but why do we fight over him? I'm sure God has a good, I know it could be a very contentious topic, but God himself surely doesn't want people to kill each other. If I was God, I wouldn't want people to, well, I'm not God, obviously, but I still don't want people to kill each other. So God, surely, if we look at that figure, surely he doesn't want people to kill each other. So to me, I know it's a very controversial topic, but to me, that doesn't make sense. Okay. So, in that respect, we are very primitive. We think that our way is the right way. Everybody's way is the right way. We just have different ways of looking at it. So, well, I would just say, just dialogue, guys. Just talk to each other. You don't agree, and so what? You know?
I fully agree, Roger, with what you are saying, and I would like to add to what your thoughts are. I would put here the lack of our primitive side of humanity is that great majority of people have got no knowledge, or rather no correct information. So basically, in my view, is we have been misled, we have been misinformed in many, many ways. We are being manipulated, and it is the people themselves who have been manipulated into being jealous, into being aggressive, into the facility of taking advantage of a situation and perhaps looting a place.
Yeah.
And we should be teaching our children, we should be teaching our generations to be understanding, to accept another human being, to love one another unconditionally.
Yeah, we got
Because,
yeah.
look, if you have a pet at home, that pet loves you unconditionally. And we human beings are considered to be the most intelligent beings, species on Earth. And what are we doing? We are not giving an example of that in any possible way. Politicians are killing each other by words, by actions. There is lots of corruptions going on. There is just everything seemed to be wrong. And I remember when I was studying politics almost 20 years ago, and I was looking at, we had a topic called globalization.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, we talk about that a lot in the past. I remember.
Exactly. And I'm thinking, okay, globalization, what is it for? Is it for the wealthy to get more wealthier? Or is it for people to accept each other, to respect each other, and to assist in each other?
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2009, when I started a business, I became a member of one of the largest, if not the largest, business organization. And we were having rules, and there were some principles, groundbreaking principles, where the organization was worldwide and we could help each other worldwide with anything that business could do. to me, that was music to my ears, because my parents have taught me the principles which everyone should have. My parents taught us, and me and my siblings, to love unconditionally, to respect, to accept, and to tolerate.
Actually, can I just say something on this one? Is that okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, because you mentioned your parents, and then just something that goes through my mind. So our family, the French side of the family, is very united, and now part of the English one, which I am glad about because that was the effort. But we've achieved some result there. But let's go back to the example I wanted to give you about on the French side. My brother in his house every year he has students with his wife in the house because we have a university in the Loire Valley, in Angers, Loire Valley, and they have foreign students from Japan and from a lot of countries all over the world. Yeah. And I remember they had a Japanese student, a female Japanese student, and my brother and my father, or my dad, I should say, I love to call him dad anyway. So my dad and my brother, they have opposite political views. And the Japanese student was actually stunned that there could be opposite political views, eat at the same table and her in the middle. And so, yes, she was actually amazed. Yeah, because she did say it, because she was in France learning French as part of her studies or something. And so I am glad English is not the only international language, even though I love English language itself, myself. Yeah, it's nice to see your own mother tongue is also part of programs like that. But she was stunned. She was quite amazed. How can it be? You're from the same family and you have opposite political views. It's just because in our family there is dialogue.
Yes.
And that's it. And there is dialogue. And then I remember, even my dad said they had a disagreement, years ago, with my brother's wife. And my dad told me, and then all he said to me, it's been solved now. We talked about it. Yeah, okay. And we're not superior beings in our family. But perhaps I would say we are good at the kind of emotional intelligence and dialogue. And that's why all these little anecdotes are happening in our family. Yeah, opposite political views. We sit at the same table. They had a little bit of an issue with Benoit's wife, but that's been solved. No problem. Never thought about again. And in France, the pandemic is being controlled differently, so they can have a few more people than we can have in this country. And then they've been helping and all that. So there is no, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
We should have a dialogue. We should have a discussion.
Yeah.
But it should be civilized. It should be diplomatic, and it should be respectful, because everyone has a right to express their point of view.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then
we have right not to agree with it.
Absolutely.
But it does not mean that we have to kill each other over that argument, isn't it?
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. And no, you're right. Sorry, I think you're right when you say something, but yeah, that's it. I mean, it's like, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't give you the. I don't know what else to add. To be honest, it doesn't give you the right to kill somebody else just because you don't agree with them. And
I think this is the biggest, shall we say, the most visible and the biggest side of our primitiveness, really, because we cannot take a discussion into a mutually respectful position. And the primitiveness is coming out tremendously. Is the same where I think where we are primitive is, let's say somebody as a group wants to express their disagreement with something,
Yeah.
and then they start throwing stones and fighting the police officers and so on and so on. And I think that is also side of being primitive.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, uh, we all know, unfortunately, about George Floyd's death. That sparked a lot of violence all across the world.
Yes.
And I was talking about that with April, who is from America, and I said to her, "Think, okay, it's very sad that in those conditions, it cannot be just. It was so primitive the way it happened, and more than primitive. It was just cruel. There is no word to express that. It doesn't matter who it happens to." But at the same time, I said to April, all this violence that's happening in Chicago and elsewhere,
And elsewhere, yeah.
about those people who got businesses and that they will be left with uh, no means to provide for the family just because of the violence. And what's that going to achieve? Nothing. And so it's and that's a very primitive reaction. Yeah, we have the right to be angry. These people have the right to be angry and not be happy. And I am not happy either. Uh, about a situation like this, whether that the person that died is black or yellow or white, I wouldn't agree with in any way with how that police officer behaved.
Absolutely, it's despicable.
Is despicable. Now, but it's also despicable that people have been building, like, let's say, a restaurant for 20 years and working hard every single day, because it's not easy to work in a restaurant. You work long hours.
Exactly.
And then suddenly, in the space of a night, it's just gone
Exactly.
because of that violence. So no, okay, yeah, and we can be angry, absolutely, but it's so that's why, and also that remind me something when I now and again I watch a little bit of TV, but nowhere near than when I used to, absolutely nowhere near. And but I would like to say this. I've been listening to some of the expressions that have been used on television. The warlord, okay, it's almost glorifying, and that's a
It
kind of
is.
and that's very dangerous in my opinion. The warlord, ah, and but it's also an expression that or a word that we use for in history books and stuff like that. Almost as if it was glorifying, and even with Napoleon, the French emperor. Okay, he may have done good things in his life and achieved his goals, and he came up with some very good principles. But nevertheless, he invaded so many countries. That cannot be right.
Exactly the same we can say about Hitler.
Yeah, and it cannot be right. And for some reason, the way it's been taught in French history book, you don't hate the guy. Even though I'm saying that I don't hate the guy, but the point is really, I shouldn't like him at all. You don't just go and invade all of Europe. Everybody, if he had not lost where he lost and been sent back to Saint Helene at the end of his life, we all be speaking French in Europe by now. I probably wouldn't be here. But at the end of the day, he did not have the right to invade somebody else, and no, and as I said, I'm not going to give any names on tonight's discussions, but I don't agree with people who want to invade this, invade that, invade the other because they want them to follow their rule. It's like, yeah, I mean, we could talk about that all night to be quite
Yes.
easy. Yeah, but who's given somebody the right, whatever the position, to go and invade somebody else just because they don't agree with you?
Exactly. And they go and take your freedom away.
Yeah, and
That's
then
very true. And there is still so many countries where people have been put into a situation where they can't do very much because they have been completely manipulated, and they think that this is the way it should be. So yes, I'm very strong. I have some strong views on that, Roger.
Yeah.
And I feel that the primitive humanity has led to people, the people at the top, to manipulate the masses in order to stay where they are. And that is very unfair. In fact, that is very cruel.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's
Because
very,
we are all free and we have the right to express ourselves.
yeah. I mean, I'm
But
sure.
one thing,
Yeah, come on.
sorry, but one thing we must remember, by wishing to express ourselves in whatever way we want to, we can do it providing we fulfill one critical condition. We can do anything that we want, but we have no right to harm another person in any way.
Absolutely. And actually, I could finish on this discussion, if it's okay with you, on the French saying. So I'll say it in French first, okay, and then you'll see
Translated.
you'll see the translation at the bottom of it, but I also explain it in English. And it goes like that. La liberté des uns s'arrête où commence celle des autres. So what it means, the freedom of someone stops when the freedom of somebody else starts. Yeah, I don't know if in English it's perhaps a bit peculiar in English because obviously languages have different nuances.
But I understand this meaning.
Yeah, so la liberté des uns s'arrête où commence celle des autres. And I remember that quite well because we say that quite a lot in our family. Yeah, so in other words, I am free to go out. I'm free to jump on the bus. And if I a discussion with somebody on the bus I don't agree with, that doesn't give me the right to punch his nose. No,
Exactly.
it's free to think the way he think.
Exactly.
And but it's so easy on a topic like that to go on and on and on and on.
It is. And if my advice to people who tend to get angry is this: if you are angry, go and punch the wall and you will see how your anger is going to react on you. Otherwise, go into the middle of the forest and scream your head out.
Yeah.
But do not harm anyone else.
Okay. And I would say this: use dialogue, guys. Just speak to each other.
Ditto that. Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you so much for this discussion, Roger. I think it was very good. And I hope that our viewers are going to like. They will subscribe to our channels and they will also share that video with other people.
So liking and subscribing to the channel help us to sustain ourselves. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Roger. Speak soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye for now.